Hi, it's Congressman Jason Crow here, and I'm joined today with a very, very special guest, somebody who I'm honored to have with us as we go into this Memorial Day weekend. A fellow serviceman, a Command Sergeant Major Isaia Vimoto, who has an incredibly long history of service to our country, and Command Sergeant Major Vimoto's family has given so much to our country, and I'll let him speak about that here in a moment. But they are, to me, the epitome of what it means to be people committed to our nation, to our defense, and to put country and service above self, and in a way that very few people, frankly, understand. So welcome, Sergeant Major Vimoto.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. Well, Sergeant Major, I'd love if you would just start by giving us a brief overview of your service. How did you come to be into the military, and what did you do during your time? And I would love to just talk about your service career and what you took away from it.
Yes, sir. Well, so I think most people we probably I'm from was born and raised in the islands of Samoa. Samoa is a territory of the United States down in the South Pacific. Growing up, I've always admired those people, kids older than me, who have graduated high school and went into service. But I admired them when they came back. I looked up to them. They were, they were strong. They're looking good. They're just their walk. I said, man, I want to be just like those guys one day. So my mother told me that I was 8 years old when I told her that I'm going to join the Army when I grow up. And so years later, my mother recounted that. So after high school, I was a junior in high school when I took the ASVAB, then passed. And then of course, my senior year, right after graduation, I sought out the recruiter. He completed my paperwork and off I went into the service. And when I left the island, I did not look back. Really, again, at that time, my goal was, I had goals. I set my goals. I'm just going to go in the military. I'm going to do 20 years, retire, come out, work again for another 20 years, and I'll retire at least twice before I reach 60. But that was just my goal as a young teenager. But things changed when I came in the Army. A few years later, I met my wife, got married, and from then on, it was one assignment after another. So that goal of 20 years ended up to become 34 plus years later. But I joined the infantry. But when I left Samoa, my recruiter said that my scores were good enough to be a supply sergeant. Said, you could be a supply. I said, what did the supply do? At that point, I didn't have any military in my family that could coach and mentor me at the time. So, I was shooting in the dark at the time. I was relying on a recruiter. So he said, well, a supply sergeant or supply guy, these are the people that behind the counter, work in office, that hand out supplies to the troops. Okay, oh, that sounds good. Is that something you want to do? I don't care. I just want to join the Army. So, but when I arrived in Hawaii, at the MEP station, Hawaii, at that time, they just started cohort units. So this is where a whole company or battalions of people come together. They train, basic and AIT together, and then they stay together for 3 years. So I was one of those very first cohorts. So when I got in Hawaii after, meeting the MEP station commander, so he got all 150 of us in a room at one night, and he said, well, man, I know all of you came here with a different MOS because your recruiter said you're good here, you're good there. But at this time, the Army needs a few good infantrymen. Who knows what infantryman is? Of course, everybody's looking at each other. Of course, me, just a dumb kid from Samoa. I was like, I don't even know what infantryman is, So this young man raised his hand and said, sir, infantryman is somebody who on the ground, close with and destroy the enemy. The colonel goes, absolutely right. And that's what the Army needs today. So all of you guys here, throw out what your recruiter said. You are now infantrymen. Raise your right hand. And then from then on, so I served my whole time,
And the rest is history.
But then I served, I went on, I served, really, every position from the rifleman to a team leader to a squad leader, all the way up to, to culminate my 34 years as a 18 Airborne Corps Command Sergeant Major. So I've seen a lot. But the big takeaway for me was really the people. Despite all the changes, and all the challenges that we face in the Army. I learned early on that it's all about people, because without people, we will not have an Army. Without people, the mission will not get accomplished. So I really foster that, and that's what I miss a lot is people and the camaraderie that we have in the military. I'm sure you can attest to that as well, sir.
Absolutely. It's the people. It's the people that I really miss. I completely relate to that. Just from everywhere. You come from America Samoa, and the Pacific Islander heritage and history of military service is unbelievable. A lot of people from Samoa and Guam go into the military, and I serve with some folks from the Pacific. It's an incredible heritage there. And I actually see a Ranger regiment scroll on the wall behind you too, I think.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Yes. What battalion did you serve in, Sergeant Major?
Yeah, I was in Vimoto, Bravo Company, 3rd 75, sir, 375.
All right. 375. All right. At Fort Benning.
At Fort Benning, Georgia. Yes, sir.
Well, I'd love if you would be willing to share a little bit about your family. Your son went into the service, and if you're willing, I think that's a really important component of your family story. And as we go into Memorial Day, what we wanted to talk about today.
Yes, sir. Yes, I'll be glad to, sir. So, my wife and I, we raised 5 children. We have 3 boys and 2 girls. The oldest was our son, Tim. So that I'll start off with Tim. So really for Tim, my belief, I'm a Latter-day Saint. I'm a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saint. And, we always encourage our young men and women to serve, sacrifice 2 years at a time to serve a mission for our church. So at that time, Tim's upbringing was all about, him when he graduated high school, he's going to go serve a 2-year mission before he goes off to college and then whatever else he desires to do. When I came back from Iraq in 05, I think 06, early 06 or late 06, I came home and of course, Tim just graduated from high school. And then the time, one evening he said, Dad and Mom, I just have something to tell you guys. I just want you to know that I made up my mind. I've seen that, I want to go in the Army. So we both looked at each other. And it's like, why? You're supposed to go on a mission. He said, then go to college. He said, I know. But then he said something that was very profound. He said, Dad, I've been watching the news when you were downrange. I've seen a lot of our soldiers killed in action. I felt it's my turn to serve, So when he said that, I've seen a lot of, that the point right there, we have a lot of my soldiers blown up with EFP, sniper, at the time, but I was fortunate. But I was there with just seeing those young men in combat, and the agony and the pain that they went through, I see my children in them. So, and then when my son said it's his turn to serve, that's all that flashed in my mind was those young men that I served with in combat. So, but then after much trying to convince them otherwise, I said, son, I think it's important that you go finish your education. If you don't want to go on a mission, at least go to college. That way, when you finish college, then you can go on and join the Army and do whatever you want to do. But he was so sad. He said, Dad, I think I want to go do this now. If I don't like the Army, then I'll just come out and go to school. I said, son, I've known you for 18 years. There's nothing but the military you would not like. You're born, raised, eat, and breathe military stuff. You always love that stuff. So anyway, but he chose, the path that he chose. And then it was funny. I took him to the recruiter the next day. Well, not next day. So I said, well, what are your plans? When do you want to go in? He said, well, I did the math, which he did his own little investigation. And he said, well, I figured if I go in at least by the end of this month, I'll come home for Christmas, for the holidays. And then after basic training, I go back and finish up. So, anyway, I took him to the recruiter the following week. The recruiter looked at him. I asked the recruiter, I said, hey, Sergeant, this is my son, Tim. He's thinking about joining the military, and I would like for you to talk to him. Anyway, so I sat down and picked up a magazine, and they were right kind of this is way for me. So I heard a recruiter ask him and say, son, well, welcome. And what is it you want to do? The Tim, without hesitation, I heard him say, well, Sergeant, I want to join the infantry. I want some action, just like that. And I looked up and the recruiter looked at me. We kind of locked eyes and I was kind of like, well, that's what he wants. So the recruiter told Tim, he said, son, you join the infantry, you're going to have plenty of action, So anyway, bottom line, so he signed up. He within a week, he was off Fort Benning, you know. But my wife just she cried the whole way back from the MEP station after we sent him off, So I said, well, it's okay. He's not going to combat. He's going to basic training in AIT. So at that time, the same time, I got an interview, selected to take over as a brigade sergeant major for the 173rd Airborne Brigade in Italy. So my wife said, well, I'm very sad because my son was supposed to come in Fort Campbell. We were in Fort Campbell at the time when we set him off. So he said, well, I'm very sad because we were supposed to be trying to get him here, but now we're going all the way to Italy, But anyway, so I said, well, no worries. I'll work something where I can. Then I was able to work his assignment and he had an airborne contract. So I was able to work his assignment and got him to Vicenza, Italy. So that's Tim. I can go more. I'm sure you probably could cover when you have questions later on that. And then our second oldest is Sabrina. Sabrina, again, she was a senior in college. After her first semester, she came home for the holidays and she told us, surprised me and my wife, saying, Mom and Dad, I have something to tell you guys. So, of course, the mother's first instinct was like, are you pregnant? My daughter said, no, I'm not pregnant. Are you getting married? No, I'm not getting married. So what is it? And she said, Dad, I know how you are. I just want you to know that I prayed about it. I thought about it. I prayed about it. I thought about it. I went and did it. What did you do? Did you rob a bank? She'd go, no, I joined the Army. I said, but you got one more semester. Why didn't you, So anyway, so she too joined the Army, even though she had one more semester. She was a senior. She had one more semester. But I tried to convince her. We tried to convince her, but that's what they were set on, But I always ask the question, why do you want to do this? The response from my son at first was like, it's my turn to serve. When I asked the same question to my daughter, why do you want to do this? Once you finish school, she goes, well, Dad, I just want to serve. I think, again, just like Tim, I felt it's my turn because I see a lot of my peers, they're working, they got jobs. But for me, I'm still in school, Anyway, so she too, later I was able to, I was an 18 Airborne Corps sergeant major at the time. So I was able to bring her to the Corps. She was able to deploy. She was a late deployer, so she deployed with me as well. Tim also deployed with me because I was his brigade sergeant major in Italy. So now two of my children had the opportunity to deploy with me. And then my third one is Ariel. Ariel was, she decided to sit out on her third year. But I had when I was getting ready to go to Iraq. So I told her, well, there ain't no sitting around here. You got to find a job, So I came back 6 months later for R&R and she still didn't find a job. And, she just didn't know she's applied, but she was expecting people to call her. I said, yeah, that's what's supposed to happen, but you're supposed to be knocking on the doors if you really want a job. Anyway, so Ariel ended up, she's joining the Army as well as an intel analyst. So she didn't deploy because I retired when she got in the Army, but I was able to witness her. So she was assigned to the 1st Special Forces Group here in Fort Lewis, JBLM. And she deployed with them to Afghanistan. So 3 of my children have been Afghanistan, So my fourth oldest is junior, so he's the first of our kids to graduate from college with a double major. After coaching football when he got out and teaching high school PE, he decided that, Dad, it's kind of boring. I want to go do contracting overseas. You think you can get me there? I said, sure, I got a connection. I can get you there. So he's got this contract, the PTEDs, not the PTED, what is the balloon, forgot what they call it. I'm talking about the raised balloon where kind of like the Goodyear balloon.
Yeah.
So he was able to land a contract with those guys and he trained up and he was stationed there in Kabul, Afghanistan. So Junior did also, but in support of the military. So so he did not join the military, but he also did his service with the military indirectly, through those means. So he was there. So now 4 of my children had deployed, to Afghanistan. And our youngest one is who's just finished his second year in college. So right now he's the one that's home now and keeping us young still. And of course we have 4 beautiful grandchildren. So 3 of them are from my daughter that's currently deployed, Sabrina, our oldest daughter. She's on her second deployment now. So, but 3 of her children that we raised here until last week, and we took them to Texas to the in-laws. And then my youngest grandson will be a year old next month, who lives in Arizona. So that's a family. And my wife, she was a nurse when we met. She went back to nursing now. She just got off work this morning, so she's in bed now. So that's the family right there. And
Wow.
yeah.
What an amazing family of service in every way. And Sergeant Major, I want to be respectful of your time, and I know we just have a few minutes of your time left, but I would love, it's Memorial Day weekend coming up, and for folks like us, it has a different meaning,
Yes.
And particularly for you and your family. And would love for you, if you're willing, to share just for a couple of minutes what that meaning is, and if you'd be willing to share about Tim's sacrifice.
Well, really, so for us, Memorial Day, I think it means a little different to us because we lost a loved one. But I think, but really, Memorial Day in general is just a day to be remembrance of those who gave their lives in the service of our country, and that's just the basic bottom line. But I think for us here in our family, really, it's a day for us. Not only, so let me back. So there's 3 days that really hits home hard, mainly for my wife. So one is my son's birthday, and that's Tim's birthday is August 2nd. So that's the day when it seemed like it's that wounds, that scab, kind of, I'm fine, but my wife's one, it's hit the hardest. The second day is the June 5th, which is coming up. That's the day when he fell, and then of course Memorial Day. So those are the 3 days that always, year round, it seemed like it's open that Pandora box again. Open that scab, it's peeling that scab back, for the family, because it means a lot. Even though we remember Tim every day, or we see his pictures on a wall, just there's a certain smell like, oh, Tim's here, or hey, or remember his smell, or in conversations, is like what we're doing now. You're talking about Tim, and those things kind of brings us those memories. But at the same time, I guess for me as a soldier, I'm comforted knowing that, that there's love, that there's people that really thought of him, along with all our men and women who died in combat in preservation of our freedom and service of our country. But it means a lot to us because it's not so much for Tim, but for us that serve, is to remember those of our fallen heroes, those are men and women who gave their all, those who they could have chosen something else, but they chose the service route, the service of our nation, fully knowing that there's chaos, that there's death involved. I mean, like my son Tim, people are dying, as he said. He said, well, I feel like it's my turn to serve. I've seen many of our soldiers dying. I feel it's my turn to serve. Most Americans turn the opposite directions. Oh, hey, I'm not going there. There's people dying over there, so you're shooting. But there's very few who put on the uniform and said, send me. I'm willing to do this. And that's what means a lot to us as a family, and for us for us who serve, is those men and women who said, send me. I will go and do the bids for our country.
Thanks, Sergeant Major. Well, I'll be thinking about Tim and his sacrifice in Afghanistan this weekend, as I know many people will, and others, friends of mine and comrades of mine. I just want to wrap here by thanking you and your family. You all have given more than we ever could have asked of you as a family. Your lifetime of service, your children in service, Tim, we owe you all a debt of gratitude that we can never repay, other than try to do right by that sacrifice, and to honor it with the way that we live our lives, the way we conduct ourselves, the nation we continue to build. And we just can't thank you enough. And I appreciate your willingness to share the story today, Sergeant Major. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. And if I can add one more thing, I know, in those who made ultimate sacrifice, I know they're not asking, if they were here, they will not ask anything in return, but we can always remember them, but how we live our lives today. Our lives, as I like to quote in the movie Saving Private Ryan, would say, the end where he walks to the cemetery and he look at his wife. Am I a good husband? Am I a good man? That's how we should live our lives. Are we living, are we being good? Are we being, good to each other? Are we worthy to sacrifice of those men and women who paid that sacrifice for us? So I think that's the way we live my life and our lives. It's like, there's nothing we can do to bring Tim and all those our men and women who died. But what the least we can do is live our lives in a manner that's pleasing to them. They're worthy of their sacrifice. Yes.
So well said. Thank you for sharing that. God bless you and your family. Thank you, Sergeant Major.
Thanks so much, sir.